Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a whole new episode of Full Steam Ahead. I'm your host, Zoe. Co-host Cantu's on the other side looking for something, but he's here. And in the middle, we got Emmy Award winning, two-time World Series champion of the Astros Spanish broadcasting team, University of Arizona Bearcat alum, Francisco Romero.
It's wild.
Wildcat,
I said
Wildcat.
Bearcat,
Hey,
right?
you said Bearcats, Wildcat. Yeah.
What a start to the show.
It's all good.
I thought it was like, oh, okay. You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of their like little motto, the bear down, right?
Right now, exactly.
Okay, so yeah, that's why I got bear in my mind.
It's all good. It's all good.
But how's it going? How's the off season been for you? Obviously, the Astros haven't played since October. How's your off season going?
You know what? It's going great. It's going good. People always ask me, and I tell them I play loteria during the off season.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Yeah, because my wife is always los zapatos, los trastes, el pantalón, loteria. you know, that's what I do. No, it's going well. Doing a podcast. I started doing a podcast also, and also just I'm editing some of the interviews that I had during the season. So I'm working on that a little bit too. With had some interviews in the can with some of the players. So I'm just putting them out there right now. They're evergreen. You can use them anytime. But so it's a good life story of the players. Mauricio Dubon tells about how he got here and stuff like that. So I'm gonna edit another one about one of our pictures, and so it's going well. So that's what I'm doing. It's keeping busy a little bit.
So tell us the name of the podcast. Yeah, get it out there. Our fans can now be your fans
everybody
as well.
know.
Yeah.
It's called Beyond the Mic.
Okay.
Más el micrófono. So it's a bilingual podcast. So it depends on the guests. I've had Joseph Blair, coach of the Rockets. We did it in English. Of course, he went to Arizona from Houston. And also we had Karim Garcia in Spanish and Manny Barrera. So, and we also had pastors and lawyers. So it's not just about sports. That's why it's called Beyond the Mic. It's más allá del micrófono, more than, it's beyond the mic in that areas, because I think the motto is, not only the success is not only achieved on the field, it's also off the field.
Of course.
Definitely. That would be going on, if I'm not mistaken, the R Skinner podcast network, correct?
Yes, it is. We're putting it there. Correct. Yes, you are right.
Nice.
That is
Expanding.
that's very awesome. Loteria, speaking of that, did you purchase any of their items at the team store when there was that time? I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, in July when the Astros had released like a limited edition Loteria. I think it was like cars. They had a bunch of different shirts, hats.
The 713 day.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
it's- yeah.
I did actually. I purchased the shirt. I didn't purchase the package because there wasn't anymore. They went by fast.
Oh, wow.
The package was the box with the hat and the shirt, and it was pretty in the set, the Loteria set.
Mhm.
So it was pretty cool. I mean, it went. People just grabbed it and went. I think it only lasted maybe a week or so. The whole package.
Damn.
Well, it did very well.
Well, I mean, they're
I haven't worn it yet.
Oh, wow. Is it? Are you gonna frame it? Put it like in a little shadow
No,
box?
I'm gonna wear it because it's a nice. It has all the Loteria cards, but when you look at it, it's kind of like a brownish, pinkish kind of shirt. It's pretty cool shirt. It's one that you don't have to tuck in, and not that I want to, Untucked is a little bit better, but it's a pretty cool shirt.
well, I mean, there is a lot of Latinos in the Houston area, so and that was one item I was like pretty sure that, well, not even item, but items in general from that whole day was just gonna go out quick.
Yeah, they went out okay. The hats were pretty cool too.
Mhm.
I didn't get one, so I may ask the store people, but I don't think there's any anymore. So, it is what it is. So maybe I'll see what they do next year.
Definitely, but let's talk about the broadcasting career, how the journey started. How did you get it all started? Getting the career going, was baseball a part of that? Was it a big influence of you getting your broadcasting career started?
You know what? It's a long story. I'll try to shorten it as much as I can. You guys can stop me and ask questions if you want, but it's a long one. I was born in Nogales, Mexico. My dad, a U.S. citizen, and when you live at the border, people live on both sides of the border. So my dad worked in the U.S. We lived in the Mexican side. Moved to Tucson, Arizona when I was 12 years old. I was a little good ball player, to be honest with you. And so my brother was a year younger than mine. We used to play ball all the time, and along with my siblings, 7 of us. The 6 of us are like a year and 3 months apart. We had a baseball team there. But and the best knuckleballer that I've ever faced is my dad. His knuckleball is just amazing. but and so when I moved to Tucson at 12 years old, I didn't play baseball seventh grade. I spoke no English. It was during the FernandoMania era, so now you know how old I am. And so then seventh grade came up. Seventh grade and then eighth grade, and I didn't play ball. So when I got to high school, ninth grade, I wanted to try out for the team, but I'm like, nah, them bullies are gonna let me know that I can't play ball again with them. But I should have, and I could have, and I know now that I could have. But things happen for a reason. I became a student of the game, and so I did play basketball. I ran track and cross country. Not that it looks like it, but I did. And then I finished high school and went on to the University of Arizona. I have a degree in political science, and right out of college, I started working. I worked during college for elected officials, so my goal was to run for office. And right out of college, I worked for the government. I worked for the Department of Environmental Quality as an education outreach coordinator in household hazardous waste through an EPA grant. I did a fellowship through the Graduate College, ethnographic research, and through political science and anthropology on a issue, environmental racism issue. The government was dumping trichloroethylene in the sewer in the south side of Tucson. So I did my case study on that. So it was published, and so it was to teach us how to go about getting our master's and our PhD. So it was a fellowship through that graduate college, and then working for the government. When in 1996 there was an announcement that the Phoenix had been approved a franchise. I'm like, oops, I want to work for baseball. So baseball had been part of my life all along. And during FernandoMania, my sister had a quinceañera we hid in the closet, so we wouldn't go to church for the quinceañera mass because we wanted to watch Fernando throw against the Yankees. Aurelio Rodriguez, third baseman from Cananea, Mexico, played against Fernando, so we wanted to see the matchup. Well, by that time, a friend of mine had invited me to work at Telemundo as a hobby, doing sports twice a week, a little segment here and there. And then the D-backs came into the picture. They didn't even have a name yet. And so I looked my way around to see if I could join them. I got in. I was interviewed in 1997 for a broadcaster position with no experience, of course. I only had that experience on TV. I didn't get the position. But the Tucson Sidewinders became the AAA team of the D-backs. It was the Tucson Toros at one time. They were the Astros AAA team at one point in time. Well, the GM of the Sidewinders recruited me to work for them as a broadcaster and director of Hispanic marketing. So that's where I started. And in 1999, the D-backs hired Oscar Soria as their broadcaster, but he didn't have his working visa yet. So they invited me to broadcast games on television in 1999 until Oscar got there. Once he got there, I went to the production truck. And then after that, I went to work for Telemundo full-time. NBC bought Telemundo. I left the Tucson Sidewinders and started working for Telemundo as a sportscaster full-time. By that time, I had already approached the University of Arizona to broadcast basketball and football. And in 2003, I was hired by the Brewers. 2003, I was hired by the Brewers and the Twins to broadcast their games. For the Brewers, it was all home weekend games. For the Twins, it was like 14 sporadic games. And at the same time, I was hired by the Arizona Cardinals to broadcast their halftime report.
Wow.
So I was the full-time sportscaster at Telemundo 5 and 10. I was doing Brewers, Twins, Arizona football, Arizona basketball. Then the following year, the Reds hired me to do some of their games, Cincinnati Reds, and then we started doing college baseball and college basketball. I mean, women's basketball with Arizona and softball. So I was doing 5 sports for the Wildcats. I was doing Arizona Cardinals. I was doing Brewers, Twins, and Reds, and my full-time job at Telemundo. And I even got an award for perfect attendance at Telemundo. I don't know how I did it. And that's when we got married in 2004. And so I don't know how I did it, By the time 2008 came up, I was back in Tucson doing news instead of sports for Telemundo, doing border stories and migrant stories and stuff like that. In 2008, the Twins offered me a position full time, director of Hispanic marketing and broadcasting 40 games, but I wanted to be a full time broadcaster. So I interviewed with the Astros February 4th, right after the Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Giants. Remember that catch with the helmet? Uh,
Hmm.
and so right after that, I got home at midnight. I was in Houston by 10 in the morning. Interviewed for about 7, 8 hours. Went back to Arizona in mid-March during the NCAA tournament broadcast the Arizona Wildcat games in DC. I got the call to that I was hired by the Astros. So I left Telemundo, and ever since then I've been with the Astros broadcasting baseball. Yes, and
Wow.
What a journey.
and for a long time, I did Astros, and during the off season, I would go back to Arizona to do football and basketball. And I was doing freelance for Televisa, doing border stories, stuff like that. But that's how I got to Houston.
Yeah, that is that is a crazy journey. Like you said, perfect attendance too. That's remarkable. I'm not gonna lie.
No, it was neat. But you know what? With Telemundo, sportscasting was a lot of fun. We had all the resources. When NBC bought Telemundo, it was like, wow, it's a different story. We had all the resources from NBC, from General Electric. I mean, it was an amazing job. If I hadn't been hired by the Astros, I'd probably still be at Telemundo, and it was a great company. It is a great company. Yeah.
Growing up, were you a Diamondbacks fan? I'm guessing, or
Growing up,
who did you? Yeah, what was your MLB team? I would say, like growing
look,
up.
this is how my journey has taken me to different teams. I grew up in the FernandoMania era,
Mhm.
so I followed the Dodgers. In 1981, there was a strike, and so Fernando Valenzuela is when he won his Rookie of the Year and
Oh
Cy
yeah.
Young. And so we couldn't hear the games, listen to the games. My brother one day told me we are in Tucson, the hot summer of Tucson, playing ball. He goes, "Hey Pancho," he goes, the Dodgers are on the radio. Estás loco? Like, you don't even speak English, dude. And so we started listening, and it was Ron Say, Steve Garvey, Dusty Baker, Pedro Guerrero, and we started listening to Vince Scully because before we would listen to Jaime Jarrin.
Mhm.
Rene Cardenas didn't come until after 81 and 82. So then we started listening to Vince. I didn't even know who Vince Scully was. That was in the summer of 81. By the time we got to school, the following school year, by May 5th, I was already giving a speech in front of school about Cinco de Mayo in English.
Mhm.
So I don't want to say, I learned English from baseball, but it did help me a lot. I mean, by the time the season ended, I could listen to the game and understand everything that was going on.
It's amazing.
Real quick, Andrew, before you ask
No,
the
no, no.
next
Go
one,
ahead. Go ahead.
I know Fernando Valenzuela. I mean, Fernando Mania was huge. I mean, it was so sad hearing him when he had passed away. But how big was his like? What was Fernando Mania for? Like you growing up, like you were saying, you followed the Dodgers because of Fernando Valenzuela.
Yeah, it was huge. It's unimaginable how huge it was. And I lived in Mexico, part of it, and lived in the United States, another part of it. But it was huge. Afterwards, when we started broadcasting Arizona game, the originating station was from Mexico, Radio Geni, and they would tell me stories that during Fernando Mania, they would cross the border in Nogales, they would rent a room in a hotel, they would watch the games, and they would broadcast the games from the hotel as if they were at the stadium. I mean, there was no way to catch them, and they were not that it was illegal, but they weren't doing the right thing. They were stealing the rights
Mhm.
for the games,
Yeah.
but they were doing it. That's how big it was. I mean, Fernando Mania was crazy. It's like when Julio Cesar Chavez used to fight, or Canelo. It was like that every 5 days. Forget about every
Yeah.
April or May. It was that every 5 days when Fernando played. The you know the baseball fans, the world just paralyzed. So that's how big it was. And you asked me about who I grew up liking.
Mhm.
So that was my era. Then I started, went to high school, and then when I started working for the Tucson Sidewinders, I really fell in love with the D-backs. And there was another type of fan because I was working for the Sidewinders. I got to see the players like Alex Intron come up to the minors. I got to see Rubiel Durazo, Karim Garcia. I worked with the Tucson Sidewinders, so in minor league baseball, when you work in AAA, it's totally different than working in Major League Baseball because in AAA, I would be an executive during the day, and at night it'd be whatever you need to do. You gotta do. You gotta sweep the floors. You gotta paint something. And then during those times, Buck Showalter was the manager for the D-backs. And if Buck Showalter had a player in the minors or in AAA, if something had to be done for Buck, we had to do it. So it's I learned a lot working in minor league baseball, and I recommend anybody who wants to get to baseball work in minor league baseball first, and it's good education in the arena. So
Yeah.
D-backs, and then I was very loyal to the Brewers because and to the Twins. They treated me very well. The Reds, I was the first Spanish
Talk
broadcaster.
about bad timing now.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So
Sorry, I cut off. It was bad timing. My bad.
go ahead. Okay. So it was mostly Dodgers, D-backs, and then the other teams that I worked for. And now with the Astros, it's a totally different world. It's been an amazing ride. The Astros, I mean, since 2008, I think I've seen a lot, not everything because I don't want to say that, but I've seen a lot that it's not only turned me into a loyal employee, but a fan of the Astros, a fan of the front office, a fan of the system, a fan of the fans, which are very good fans in Houston.
Yeah, you mentioned FernandoMania, and FernandoMania was big in Houston as well. I remember my grandmother told me that when Fernando Valenzuela was going to pitch against the Astros, my grandpa, who would work till like 7 p.m., got off of work early to try to take all my mom, my uncles, and aunts to the game. But to their surprise, when they got to the Astrodome, everything was sold out. There was a big party. Like they were saying, a bunch of people from Monterrey came and to come watch Fernando Valenzuela pitch. So it was pretty epic here in Houston too.
And I think that in itself needs to be considered for him to go into the Hall of Fame. I mean, it wasn't just a pitcher who had success. It was a movement. It was a
Mhm.
movement in LA. The riots in LA, the roundups of immigrants was huge. But so now, later on in my life, I understood what kind of movement he started with him pitching and being successful. And first time you see someone that looks like me, pitch and be at the White House, and so it was pretty amazing. I don't know if it'll ever happen again.
Okay.
Do you believe that Fernando Valenzuela should be a Hall of Famer? Just because of like you were just saying right there.
Yeah, he had good numbers, not good enough that a lot of voters consider him to go into the Hall of Fame, but just because of what he did, not only for the Mexican Americans and Latinos, but for the baseball world.
Mhm.
He took baseball. I mean, talk about crossing borders. People from Venezuela, from Colombia, from people from El Salvador, they can recite the lineup of 1981, 82, 83 of the Dodgers just because of Fernando Valenzuela.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing work right there. And you mentioned growing up, you used to listen to Jaime Jarrín and René Cardenas as well. René Cardenas is up for the Ford Frick Award. I think it'll be his third nomination. Third attempt to try to uh, be in Cooperstown. How big of an influence was René to you? I know we talked about it personally, but just for the crowd out there, how big of an influence was that to you?
He was a huge influence because as I started listening to Vince Scully, and then Rene came in 1982. Then we got to listen again to Jaime and Rene, and so it was something like it's always in the back of your mind. "Oh, man, I wish I could do that. I wish kids like me who don't speak the language could understand, could listen to games in Spanish so they can understand what's going on." And at that time, I thought that small world was everybody's world. Baseball and playing. I know there's a lot more out there, but those were my thoughts. And something I didn't tell you in the interview when we talked is that Rene even had a bigger influence now when I started working for the Astros because of what he did back then, and then it got to me that uh, noticed that he really opened the door for all of us, for a lot of us, and so think about it. First Spanish broadcaster hired full time by a team in 1958. Then he was taken away from the Dodgers to come to the Colt 45s because they saw his value, and he started a whole Spanish marketing department. And that I'm talking about it in the early 1960s, 62, 63. And so after then, more about him that I started, uh, you know, going to his house, becoming friends, more than friends. And that's when it hit me. Wow, this man really, did a lot of stuff, and he's still doing it. Think about it. In 2008, when I first started broadcasting, I think he was like 71, 72 at that time. He broadcasted Spanish TV for the Astros for the first time ever. So he's the one who started radio for the Astros in Spanish and with the Colt 45, and he's the one who started broadcasting TV for the Astros in 2008. So that's the influence it's had on me, and you have to be appreciative of that, because if it wasn't for people like him, we wouldn't be here. At least I wouldn't be here probably talking to you guys.
You said you've become more than friends. Like, I know you have a great relationship outside of baseball. Like I said, I remember you telling me that you go to his house constantly. What's been the biggest advice or words that resonate with you that Rene Cardenas has told to you?
You know that Rene, to just broadcast in a way that you teach people, broadcast in a way that you get a reaction from people. So he said, and he tells me about the first thing he tells people or teaches people when they approach him and they don't know baseball. It's like, let's start by the basics. One is the pitcher, two is the catcher, three is the first baseman, four is the second. So start by the basic, and as you broadcast, you teach people to love the game. By teaching him stuff like that, but with light anecdotes, and teach him what the games brings uh, to the listener. Don't make it boring, and just be very clear. But that's one of the things that I like. The passion that he puts into it, and what he relates as to how we can love this game by teaching it and by relating to people in the way we broadcast.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I know. Did you want to add something?
No, I'm just gonna say too, the Ford Frick Award is basically getting you into the Hall of Fame, and like you've said right there, first Spanish broadcaster, went from the Dodgers to the Colt 45s. Do you think maybe possibly if he even stayed at the Dodgers, Jaime Harin would even be able to have that Ford Frick Award himself, and maybe he could have had it at that time as well?
And the thing is that Rene was Jaime's teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and so he brought him in. He taught him how to broadcast, and then they both broadcasted back with the Dodgers in 1982, and they did. They were a great duo. They lived through the Fernando Mania era, and so yeah, I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, of course. Yes.
Oh yeah, I know. Our Esquina supports Rene Cardenas, and you support it, and I know he has a great chance to, joining Cooperstown as well.
For the Astros Hall of Fame too, being there, seeing him put on that orange jacket, what was going through your head? I'm pretty sure it was very emotional for you seeing him be in the Astros Hall of Fame.
I don't want to talk how emotional it was. It was very emotional. But the thing is that he sometimes thinks that he has been forgotten, and it's not true. People know who he is; they remember him, and I'm glad the Astros and the committee selected him. I think it was a great decision, and he loved the Astrodome. He loves Minute Maid Park too, but you talk to Rene about the Astrodome, and it's just every single detail about the Astrodome he knows about. He was even campaigned, canvas for the bond to go through, and when they voted for the funds, and he admires Judge Hoffines so much because he was a visionary. And the reality is, I visited the Astrodome about 4 years ago.
Mhm.
It was built ahead of its time, because that thing can still be used.
Well, there's a project to reconstruct it. I don't know if you heard about that.
I think it was yesterday they came out with it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever they do, I just hope they don't tear it. I don't think they will, because it means so much to the city. And so it's a beautiful structure. I've been there, and it's to see it like that, put apart. It's still beautiful. I mean, you get in there, you get chills. There's some seats with a lot of signatures from former ball players that they're still there. I think they're gonna put him somewhere, but it's pretty neat to go in. If you guys have a chance to go in there, as it is right now, it's pretty cool because you drive. They drove us in a little golf cart, and then there are some stands, and like two or three layers of wood. The last layer is from like the 1960s, and you can see the signs from the 60s. Pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool to go in there right now.
No, that's awesome. I remember when I talked to Rene Cardenas, he told me that the first time he met Mr. Hop Science, he was like in a big pile of dirt where the Astrodome was now placed. It was like, again, from right there, he was kind of sold, to join the Astros.
Yeah, it's pretty. He got good stories, man. All over.
Yeah,
Great
absolutely.
stories about his kid running around at the Astrodome, just like Nolan Ryan's kids run around the Astrodome too. It's some great stories about all kinds of players. So it's pretty neat. So I hope Rene gets into the Hall of Fame. I hope he wins the Force Freak Award, which he deserves. As you said, Lorenzo, he started. He's a true pioneer. I mean, talk about someone who paved the road for a lot of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he needs to get that recognition he deserves as well. But I think that was really great conversation of your life and about being a broadcaster, career as well. Rene Cardenas. Let's move on to the current state of the Astros. They're losing a lot of big pieces. Like Justin Verlander is a free agent. Alex Bregman is the big notable one out there. What do you think the Astros have a great chance of bringing back Alex Bregman, and how big of an influence does Jose Altuve's words that he said about Alex Bregman play a part in that?
Well, you know what? I don't want to play the role of a GM, but I want to play the role of a fan now, and I hope he comes back. I hope he comes back. I mean, I really enjoy calling his home runs, and he's really approachable. He always speaks Spanish to us. There's a video that I have that singing J Balvin song. I don't know if you heard it. I gotta
J
say that.
Balvin, I know, but
Yeah.
You gotta. So it's Bregman Balvin now. But aside from that, he's a great player. He is a great player, and when he's healthy, he's awesome. If you look at his home runs, he's hit home runs of a lot of Cy Young pitchers.
Yeah.
So which is pretty cool. So in talking to Altuve's influence, it's a huge influence that Altuve comes out and talks about him wanting Bregman to come back, and so I mean it's a numbers game. They have to make it happen, and so I hope he does. The nucleus is still there for the Astros. The chances are still there. The window's still open for success, and every year it keeps on happening. So we just hope it goes that way again.
Do you predict any big move that might happen, or is there a move you want to see the Astros make? Speaking as a fan, is there a move you want to?
You know what? There needs to be, I think, another big bat right there somewhere, whether it's a first baseman or it's in the outfield. I mean, I love John Singleton. He's always been great to us, but insert a big bat somewhere in there. There's some free agents out there that can hit the ball, but I'm not the one with the pocket, and so with the money. So, we just hope. But whatever they do, you know what? The Astros have become a model franchise, a model team into how they develop the players. They always talk about the farm system being depleted. Some of those guys that are coming up are pretty good. Talk about Spencer Getty, talk about JP France, and so
And they won the championship too.
they did, huh? Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They actually did, and so the Astros have a great system that was put in place years ago, and they keep going at it. The pitchers always tell me about how the pitching system and how they teach them and how they approach them and how they coach them is beneficial for everybody. And we've seen that. We've seen, the Astros have the most no hitters in the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Mhm.
So you have to go by that. but of course, every team needs to make a little change here and there, and hopefully, I think the window for the Astros is still open. It will be for a while open, and just hope to see it happen. I mean, I love broadcasting the games, the atmosphere, the players, and so we just hope it continues.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point about development because the Astros have had at least a rookie player, finish in the top 5 of the Rookie of the Year voting. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Almost every year.
yeah. So it's like, yeah, their farm system like ranks not the best, but shoot, the way they develop these guys to perform, like look at Spencer Arrighetti. The two stars that come into my mind is that start in Philly and the start in Boston. If you combine those two starts together, he threw 25 strikeouts. Like that is impressive.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It's pretty impressive. Talk about Yainer Diaz, man.
Yeah. And that's the guy I was gonna mention. Yeah, Yanier Diaz.
And I just posted a story. I think it's gonna be on Facebook for the Astros. We're gonna put it in 2 parts. You gotta listen to him. He has a great story, man. And Eddie Diaz is a great story, not only on the field but off the field. He has he had a 33-year-old brother who passed away from cancer. He was his biggest supporter. And in the story, he tells me about when he got up to the majors. First thing he did was get his cell phone and FaceTime his brother, and he realizes he was dead. He's like, "Oh, my brother's not here. He's dead," and he's calling him to let him know that he had made it to the majors. That's some pretty amazing thing, that's why he's so mature for his age, and because of things that he's gone through his life. I'm just telling you, those are the things that we find out from the players, and when we talk to them. So that's one of the interviews that we'll be putting out in the next few days.
Oh, stay tuned for that.
Yeah, that's a big one right there.
Yeah.
But for the Astros, real quick, Jose Altuve just winning that 7th Silver Slugger, tying Ryan Sandberg for the most by a second baseman. In my point of view, and maybe I could speak for Angel too, I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer whenever his season, his career comes to an end. But, you could speak more about Jose Altuve. I want to hear about that call of, I think it was Game 5, if I'm not mistaken, of the 2023 ALCS, of hitting that home run.
Right there at the Rangers. At the
Yes.
Rangers? Yeah. That was amazing, man. That was cool stuff. But from Altuve, I had so many good calls and so many good moments, I rather say, that make good calls. Like when he hit that home run, Chapman during the ALCS, but also when the Yankees came to town, I think it was 2021, that they were losing to the Yankees, and bottom of the night he hits a home run when they were teasing him, the players going like this, and so I had so many. Altuve has had so many good moments that make us look good.
So you've been doing this since 2008, you said. So you kind of grown with Jose Altuve. How have you seen him grow as a player and a person throughout his career?
Look, Altuve came in July 20th, 2011. That's my daughter's birthday, so that's what I know exactly. It was him, Gigi Paredes, and JD Martinez. They were in the locker rooms, like venados, looking at everyone, and they came in, but they came in to play. I mean, Altuve just it's been amazing, and it's been a treat to have the best seat in the house and watch this young man become a future Hall of Famer, become a father, become from a young man to a man. It's been a treat, and he's gone through a lot. He was part of that team, that 3 teams that lost 100 games each, and he's been part of teams that won 100 games 3 years in a row. And so it's been a treat to see him grow. My daughter was 3 years when he came in. Now she's 18, and we'd walk out with Altuve to the parking garage, and she thought that all the kids did the same thing. She didn't know how special that was. And so in terms, I say that because working in sports is not a job, it's a lifestyle that you drag your family with you. And so I've seen my family do that as well as the player's family, especially Altuve, when he had his first daughter, second daughter. So we've seen that maybe not as friends because we're not friends as per se. We go out to each other's house, but as co-workers, as a broadcaster player, I've had it's been a treat to see him grow in every which way as a player, as a young man, and also a family man. So it's been pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, what he's done and where he's came from to his story itself as well. Not being able to come back, but yet he still went back out there. And I mean, like I said, I think honestly he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. I think he could honestly be the best second baseman in Major League Baseball history.
Yes, yes, and you're absolutely right. He could. You compare the numbers, but you compare the success, and also the success he's had in the postseason. Man, there's some
Yeah.
great players that just can't hit. Look at Aaron Judge; he just can't do anything in the postseason. As great as a player as he is, but there's been other players too who've been great, but in the postseason they haven't done anything. Altu is just an all-around success in every which way you can point. And so, yeah, first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. And I mean, I have no doubt about it. And it'll be great when that happens. I hope he still has 5 more seasons to play here, at least maybe another contract. But it'll be neat. And like I said, I've had Alex and I and my family we had first row to watch his success, and it's been amazing. It's truly been amazing to see him grow that way.
Yeah, I mean his postseason numbers really stand out. Being second to only Manny Ramirez in the home run category, having a lot like even in that same team with David Ortiz in the playoffs with
Jeter.
Alex Rodriguez, Jeter, like all those guys with that are Hall of Famers and being second, that's an amazing and like in its own right there.
Yeah, and also, I mean, he's led the Astros to this golden era. Think about it. I mean, the Dodgers and the Astros have been going toe to toe in regards to postseason appearances and so on and so forth. But the Astros have been amazing, man. The only team that did it was way back when the Braves in the '90s, and maybe the
Yankees.
Yankees
Yeah.
when they went went 3 times in a row to the
Yeah.
World.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, but not many teams can say they've done something like this. Even the Giants, when they won all those
Oh yeah.
games,
Oh yeah.
but all those World Series, it wasn't. I don't know. I don't want to make it look like it wasn't great, but it, the Astros it's just a little bit something else. The that gives them that type of dynasty, if you want to say, name for what they've done in the last few years.
What 7 straight ALCSs, the success they've had in the postseason just as a team itself. I mean, it's remarkable. And like you said, you've had a front row seat to all of it.
No, it's been great, man. I've been blessed. I mean, I've been truly blessed, and I hope it doesn't end. Knock on wood. But I've been blessed, to have the family in the World Series parade. Think about it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, you know what I wanted to do when I was a kid? I used to watch the games on Saturday, and because of the border, we could watch the U.S. Channels. Used to watch NBC. I would see that grass so green. I wanted to just. I told myself before I die, one day I'm gonna go touch a baseball field. I was like 12, 11, 12, and now it's the first thing I do. Touch the grass a little bit when I get to the field, because that's something I just wanted to do it one time, and so I've been able to do it for 18 seasons with the Astros now. So that's pretty cool, man. It's been a great ride.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, if you want to drop a question, maybe Francisco can ask one of your questions. But speaking of questions, I've already said it. I mean, since 2008, being with the Astros, I'm pretty sure you have so many memorable favorite Astros calls. We even put it on our Twitter account when you caught the no-hitter in the World Series. But what is one of your personal favorite Astro calls? I mean, as a team, as a player, from the player standpoint, what is one of those favorite moments you can recall?
My favorite moment, one of my favorite moments was the first game I did. It was Padres Astros National League, because it was the first game I did with the Astros.
Mhm.
So that alone was one of my favorite moments. But in terms of calls, you hit it right on the nail. That no hitter was very special, and I'll tell you why. I talk about family and my daughter, my wife, and the reason it was very special because my daughter was there at a World
Oh.
Series game in Philadelphia, a no hitter. That she's been following the Astros since she was a year and a half when we got here. So that was very, very special. And so that's one of my favorite calls too, in the to end the game. And the other ones have been, Jordan Alvarez home runs, uh, Jose Altuve's home runs against the Yankees, and the one against the Rangers. So there's been quite a few calls that really stand out. But those ones, the Chapman call, I really enjoyed that one, and so those are some of my favorite calls. The Alex Bregman call, against the Dodgers this year,
Yeah.
and so there's been a few from Alex Bregman too. But the Jordan Alvarez, Altuve, Bregman, those have been calls that I would say are my favorite calls.
That one's a special one though. The
Yeah.
one your daughter being in attendance in Philly.
Yeah, amazing.
That is so awesome.
This is the second no hitter World Series.
Hmm.
This game, that's and that encompasses everything that my career has meant. The family there, the no hitter making history, winning the World Series afterwards, and so that just encompasses what their journey has been. And like I said again, working in baseball is not a job; it's a lifestyle that you have to drag family with you.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. But then we can attain to that too. Those long hours at the ballpark as well.
Yeah.
We did have a question. I only want to put it by Joe Garcia.
Okay. Yeah, Joel Garcia. I'm late, but any predictions from Francisco on Astros offseason moves?
You know what? In terms of predictions, I think so. Don't I think Bregman might be back and predictions. I think another starting pitcher and another bat. So those are maybe Kikuchi will be signed again. There was a report earlier today that they like him a lot, and so those are my three things: Bregman, a pitcher, and another power bat, whether it's a first baseman or outfield. Those are my predictions. So it's not really stone.
Yeah.
Nor do I have the money to pay.
No, I think you're right there with us. I think we did our prediction episode a few episodes ago. If you want to check on that, but yeah, I think we're like right there, like on the money with you there.
Yeah, it makes sense, and hopefully our pitchers will come. The ones who are hurt will come back healthy, and and the Astros are going to have a good staff because those are proven pitchers.
Yeah.
Luckily, they were hurt, but man, if we get all those pitchers back, this is going to be a heck of a season.
Yeah, like I've been saying recently, we can never have too much pitching, and having that surplus of pitching it's a good problem to have, especially with all these injuries of late with the pitch timer and all that stuff. You can argue with that, but with all these recent injuries, so yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, they've been proven in regular season and in postseason, so
Yeah.
it'll be pretty good.
And then I do have a question before we let you go. My question to you is, what is the best advice you can give someone who is trying to pursue a career in broadcasting like yourself?
Best advice would be first of all, get a degree, whether it's journalism, communications, even engineering, whatever. Get your education to expand your mind, and then with technology now, you have a lot more chances than what we did back then. Starting a podcast, creating videos, learning the game as much as you can, practice broadcasting. There is a lot more infrastructure that is not expensive that you can acquire to practice the craft and become good at it. And there's more than Major League Baseball. You have college sports, you have NBA, NFL, NASCAR. I almost broadcasted NASCAR also, and so yeah, because NBC had NASCAR, so
Yeah.
so they wanted us to broadcast NASCAR, and so there's a lot of opportunities out there. But most of all, just like you guys are doing, it's amazing what technology can help you with nowadays, and you can reach out to people just like you guys are doing. So that's one of my biggest advice. Just keep practicing, keep learn how to edit, learn how to speak the language right. If you speak both languages, you're gonna have more value. So those are some of the advice that I can give.
That's awesome.
That is awesome
Take notes.
advice. Yes, take notes of that. Francisco, my last question before we get off. I know Angel said that was the last question.
No, my bad. I'm
I
sorry.
do have one more. Your partner, Alex Trevino. I mean, obviously a former Astros player himself. How is it working with him in the booth? Because I know he's a funny guy. I like Alex.
He's a character. You know what? Personally, Alex is like a brother. He's family. We've become very close. That's why I don't like to see him during the off season. I just kidding. But I see him more than even my wife during the season. To be honest with you, and so as a person, he's great. Very personable. And in the booth, he's like the bad guy. I'm the good guy. but you know, but when it comes to baseball, I mean, with all due respect to all the color commentators I've had in the past, Alex is just one of a kind, man. Alex knows baseball. He breathes baseball. He eats baseball. He does everything with baseball. It's amazing. When I got to this job in 2008, I thought I know everything about baseball and I can broadcast games. But when I met Alex and he started explaining the game as we broadcasted, we I don't know if you ever listened to our games or not, but there's a history where I do the play-by-play, then he comes in and he talks about the game, and he does the play-by-play for fourth, fifth, and sixth inning. But I like him better as a commentator because he knows the game. He's a catcher, so he puts you right on the field, and he was also a manager. So Alex is not only watching the game as it goes on, he's also watching what's coming up. So then all of a sudden he tells me, this pitcher gonna should get up right now. Because there's maybe there's a lefty that I didn't see. A lefty stands up or stuff like that. And for instance, my wife calls me and tells me, "So what's up with Alex?" I go, "Why? Does he have a crystal ball or something?" No, I go, he's a manager. He's a ball player. He knows what's going on.
Mhm.
And so it's just amazing. I'm sorry this answer's taking so long.
No, it's okay. Perfect.
To have someone like Alex as a color commentator. And I mean, he just knows the game inside and out. And it makes it not only so much better, but it makes it so much fun. And so sometimes I like Kyle Tucker the other day. I go, he's gonna hit a home run right here, and he hit a home run. But it had been like seven, at bats without a home run or eight. So I kind of played with the odds. He's gotta hit a home run in the next three at bats or something like that. So he hit a home run. He looks at me, and goes, "So what did you eat today?" But I was playing with the odds, but he's amazing. There's one anecdote with Alex. I think it might have been about 10 years ago. There was a play. The runner got him first, and he was safe, but then he was called out, and he's like, "Oh, what happened here?" So Alex didn't know. So I'm like, "Well, what happened, Alex?" And then they told us the batter was out of order, and was batting out of order. So it wasn't his turn. It was somebody else's turn. It's the first time and only time I've ever experienced that. So I goes, "Oh my God!" He goes, "Yo nunca he visto esto. I've never seen this before." And then they announced the last batter who was put out batting out of order was Alex Trevino back in 1988.
Oh shit!
Oh man, how was his reaction to that?
That was pretty funny. So, he goes, "It was me." He goes, but first he said he had never seen that in his life before.
I'm sure he tried to forget that ever happened.
He did. Yeah.
And then
Those are the things that go on. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I know Jose Cruz also joins you on the booth at times. Like I'm sure with having Jose Cruz and Alex Trevino, it can be like it's an amazing radio show. I can guarantee.
I have to take my headsets off because they won't want to talk at the same time. I'm like, dude, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, they played in the same era. They know a lot of players, and so it's fun to listen to them talk about those players. And it's amazing how both of them can let you know. For instance, Alex is like, you know, and he tells me straight out, for instance, there's a 1 ball, 2 strikes, and the pitcher has some kind of his sequence, so he can tell what sequence he's using, what kind of pitch is coming, because it's easy. It's by what what you have. So stuff like that, and that Alex and Cheo bring to the table. It goes back to what Rene was saying. It teaches your listener about baseball and what baseball is about. It's not just pitching the ball or throwing the ball. Every pitch counts. Every pitch has a purpose, and so it's pretty neat to listen to them on the purpose of each pitch. So you get to learn a lot with Alex and Cheo and during the broadcast.
Yeah, I bet. But Francisco, I know we didn't think it was going to be almost an hour taking your time, but we really and truly appreciate you being on the pod and talking about your broadcasting journey. Giving advice as well throughout this whole time. But yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
No,
I
no,
think it was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. Thank you guys for inviting me. It's pretty cool to talk baseball during the off season.
No, yeah, I think it's one of like it was a great show. I think it was one of the great ones, and because of what you bring to the table. So it was pretty good to having you as well. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you guys, and hopefully we'll keep doing more stuff together, and let's enjoy our baseball season 2025 with the Astros. Hopefully they'll take us far again.
Yeah, last little bit of comments. Thanks, Francisco and guys from Joel. We even got a little bit of baseball in Spanish from Ashworth Craig. Baseball. But Francisco, like we said, we appreciate you taking your time. That is his Twitter handle right there underneath his name on the screen. If you want to go give him a follow, Francisco, you have anywhere else that people can follow you from social media?
You know what? I have turned Facebook. It's personal, but I'm my podcast is being shown there. So if you want to follow me and Facebook is Francisco Romero as it is, and I think that's the only one. Also, I'm on Instagram at Romero Astros, but yeah, check out the podcast. It's sometimes in English, sometimes it's in Spanish, and it's only more like I said beyond the mic. It's more than just sports. So it's a pretty interesting characters that I've met along my journey, and hopefully we'll have a Jenny Finch in there sometime, and so. And also, I want to have a Travieso Arce. There's an invitation for him, the boxer. So it should be fun. So follow me, and we'll follow you guys too. And hopefully, we'll keep listening to your podcast.
Yes, and of course, up above Angel's Head, that's where you can follow social media for Full Steam Ahead, FSA Full Steam Ahead on Instagram. Above my head, that's where you can find our podcast, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. And of course, speaking of podcasts, like Francisco was saying, Beyond the Mic, it will be on the Arskina podcast network right here on top of my head is on our Arskina, the brand. So make sure you go give him a listen. And as well, maybe you can speak a little bit, teach yourself a little bit of Spanish, non-Spanish speakers out there.
Yeah.
But boys, I really appreciate this. Everybody else, y'all have a safe and blessed week. We'll talk to y'all, I believe Monday or Tuesday. We might have another guest come on and join our show next week. But till then, y'all all stay safe, be blessed, and have a great rest of y'all weekend.
Thank you.
Peace.